What's the lie that you've told that has gotten so ridiculously out of hand that you've had to keep building on it and is now a part of your life? Story 1. A girl I lived with 2 years ago thought I was stealing her yogurt out of the fridge. I told her it couldn't have been me since I'm allergic to dairy, and now I still can't eat dairy in front of her or anyone from that friend group. She made me a dairy-free cake for my birthday. The guilt is eating me alive. Story 2. Pretty silly, but I think it fits the bill. When I was about 5, I remember being in the bathroom and brushing my teeth. My mom was there and berated me for something. Later, being a sensitive child, I was crying in bed about it. My parents came in, all concerned, and my mom asked, "Was it because I yelled at you earlier?" Embarrassed at being called out so easily, I said, "No, I'm sad because I can't swim." Soon, I was taking to swimming lessons. I hated swimming. Story 3. When I was a little kid, I told my mom I really liked her tuna casserole. I was just trying to be nice and pay her compliments, and she seemed like she was really having a bad day. Pretty much every time I go to visit her, she has some tuna casserole waiting for me. I don't actually like tuna casserole that much, but it's been such a sweet gesture that I don't have the heart to tell her to stop. This has been going on for over 30 years now. Story 4. I had a coworker tell me that he got married on accident. It was Christmas morning and he bought his girlfriend a ring as a Christmas present. They were both sitting around the tree when she opened it and she started to cry and said, "Well, are you going to ask me?" That's when he realized what he had done. He got down on one knee and asked her to marry him. Moral of the story, don't ever buy a ring for a girl unless you're planning on marrying her. Story 5. I'm a professor, and many times I will tell personal stories in an effort to demonstrate tough concepts. About half these stories I made up at some point. I don't remember which ones are real and which ones are lies, so I just go with them and don't worry about it. Story 6. When I was younger, I was walking home at night and the streetlights were off. I got scared and started running. Knocked myself clean out on a lamppost. Someone walking their dog found me and called the ambulance. I was that embarrassed when I woke up. I told the nurse I was mugged. I was 12. My parents turned up at the same time as the police. I gave a description that sounded a lot like Gonzo from the Muppets, and the police were searching the area with sniffer dogs. Thank Christ, nobody was arrested, and I still haven't told my parents. Story 7. When I first started dating this girl, I told her that I don't like porn. Flash forward 6 years, we're married and watching an episode of Friends, where one of the girls thinks her boyfriend doesn't like porn. My wife turns to me and says, "Well, not all guys like porn. You don't like it, right?" Me: "That's right, honey. It's not for me." Story 8. Told my employer that I was Jewish, not Jewish. Had to research all the holidays, pick a temple to be a member of, etc. Had to get a new job. Story 9. In an ironic twist of fate, I used to tell people that I had a heart condition and that's why I took pills daily. It's actually Prozac. Found out about a year and some change ago that I do, in fact, have a heart condition. I lied so hard that I retroactively gave myself a heart condition. Story 10. I dislocated my knee dancing like a maniac while drunk in January. Ended up on crutches for 3 weeks. Told everyone at work I did it bending down to grab something from the freezer because I didn't want them to think I was some drunken maniac. People at work are still shocked that I dislocated it so easily and kept saying how unlucky I am, bringing the sympathy. Now, I just feel like a fraud. Story 11. Met my wife on one of those telephone chat dating things in the 90s. Basically, before OkCupid, you would sign up for a voicemail and describe yourself. We connected and went out, but were both embarrassed for using it. Fast forward 18 years, we continued to tell everyone we met in the music section at Borders. Story 12. I'm currently studying Chinese in Beijing. My Chinese isn't that great, and listening is, by far, my worst skill. So I often get asked questions that I think I understand, but don't. For instance, I was asked if you can haggle prices in America, and I told the class you can. Since I am the only American in the class, nobody knows any better. All my lies are small and completely accidental, but there are so many of them. If anybody in that class actually goes to America, they are going to be in for a big surprise. And if any of them spoke English, they would know I am not an 18-year-old from a small town with no buses, trains, or taxis who doesn't know how to properly use a fork and knife. Story 13. This lie broke. It shattered, but it's a great story. My chiropractor, great bloke, not great English, fairly gullible, lived with my drinking buddy at the time, and one night, with my last name being Rhodes, we decided to convince him I was the last of the ruling elites of Rhodesia in exile in Australia since the rise of Zimbabwe. Even set up a blog, Last of the Rhodesians, which got me in so much trouble when a racist took it over. Slipped in Leo DiCaprio's accent from Blood Diamond occasionally. All was going well. I'd go get my back fixed, spin a yarn about a semi-made-up land, and laugh all the way home. This went on for months. And then my mom invited my chiropractor, let's call him Patel, to a family barbecue. First thing he said to my mom, "So how did you get out of Rhodesia?" And a laugh went so loud and so far, even Obi-fucking-Wan felt it. I was not the last king of Rhodesia, just a guy with a terrible sense of humor when drunk. Story 14. When I was 10, I learned I could make myself throw up, so I used this to get out of school for like 2 weeks. My parents couldn't figure out what was wrong with me because I didn't have a fever or anything. My aunt had the idea that I was allergic to red food dye because their grandson, my second cousin, was. I just kinda rolled with it, and so for years my house never had red Gatorade, it strawberry Pop-Tarts, etc. I eventually told my parents I was faking when I turned 20. They were not amused. Story 15. While me and my SO were still dating, maybe 2 weeks or so in, she winked at me when I walked into the pub she worked in. Me, being the goof that I am, winked back, but messed it up on purpose and just sort of shut my eyes tight for a second, making her believe that I couldn't wink. Now it's over 6 years later, and she still doesn't think I'm capable of winking. One of my favorite things to do is to stand behind her and wink my ass off, purely for my own amusement. Story 16. A couple years ago, I went to a bar in a town I didn't expect to be in very often, and I decided to don a Scottish accent and make up a backstory for a fictitious version of myself. Now, I doubt my accent would have fooled someone actually from Edinburgh, but by the end of the night, I had a group of Americans and one bemused Australian chatting with me about the things that made the U.S. a strange place to visit from abroad. Shots were bought, backslaps given, and a good night had. I thought nothing else of it. Until I was dating a girl from the next town over, and she took me to her favorite bar. That bar. We walked in. Someone greeted me by my name, and I did the only thing I could do, cheerfully donned my fraudulent accent, explained that my business trip had been indefinitely extended, and spent the next 20 minutes furtively explaining to my date that I wasn't a conman, just an ex-actor with a terrible impulse control. Story 17. My brother had a girlfriend with a younger sister my age, and they all came to watch me play baseball once. I was pretty smitten with the younger sister, and so after the game, I started bragging about how I play guitar. My brother laughed in my face and said I had gotten a guitar, but it had been collecting dust for months, and I'd never had the patience to learn an instrument anyway. I was so embarrassed by being called out and doubted. I went home, told my mom I wanted to take lessons again, and here I am, 20 years later, still playing guitar every day. We sincerely appreciate you taking the time to watch our YouTube video. If you find our content helpful and enjoyable, please click the subscribe button to stay updated on any new videos we share in the future. Thank you once again, and we hope to see you in our next upcoming videos.